And there we go. You can see me fine, yeah?
Yep, I can. You can see and hear me okay as well.
Yes. Welcome to Political Breakdown, a show where I go through the week's news with comedian friends of mine. This week, my guest is Declan Kennedy. Hello, Declan.
Hello, Ashley. How you doing?
Yes, surviving. How about yourself?
Functioning pretty much as yourself. I think we're all on that level now. We're just within operational parameters, but not much more. I think that's the best we can hope for.
Sticking to 3 meals a week, 3 meals a day.
3 meals a week. Wow. Yeah, I make them big meals. I just load up on carbs and just run on empty for a few days. It's pasties, pasta, everything in one go. Yeah, kind of. I've always been a bit of a snacker, but yeah, no, I've been trying to keep to sort of 3 meals. What is it? I reckon it's about 3 or 4 hours apart, isn't it? That's the healthy eating advice that just generally like to try to eat between meals and keep it 3 or 4 hours before sort of eating things in between, having an interval. So, how about yourself? You
I need to find a way of putting on less weight. That would be nice.
Amen to that.
Some form of exercise, but I've only got a room, so it's not as easy to do everything. Keep it in your own mind of just in a room, and you're I'm going to exercise in this room. I'm going to sleep in this room. I'm going to do everything in this room. Drives me insane.
Yeah. Are you self-isolating the minute? Are you allowed out for the 1 hours?
I'm allowed out, but the idea of running depresses me.
Did you
walk?
Yeah.
But so I take a stroll. But I'm doing a lot of writing at the moment for different projects, and so I'm trying to keep doing that. I'm getting nowhere with any form of stand-up at the moment. I'm thinking of just because everyone's in lockdown, just getting someone and saying, "Listen, you, 2 hours. I need a fucking soundboard. Here's fucking 20 quid. Just I need to get some shit out and see whether or not it's actually useful." But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the wonderful world of news.
That's it. The wonderful, wacky, wibbly wobbly world of news. The gift that goes on giving.
It is truly, truly beautiful. Let's start with one of the worst people on earth.
Well, there's a lot to choose from. Right, I was going to say there's a lot of people to choose from, but we scored another load right there. Priti Patel has reappeared after a long absence, like Kate Bush coming back with an album after a long absence. People are wondering where she is, and then suddenly she pops up like the Candyman.
Yes, she. I think she went away so she could work on the immigration figures for employment, because that was brought out last week. The little brochure to employers saying. This is the rules that we have for anyone except the 150, is it? Like a couple of hundred Romanian workers we've brought over to pick fruit. In which the front of the Daily Mail, I think it was, said something like, "Here comes the Romanian heroes."
Run that by me again. The Daily Mail said this.
Yes. Yep, Daily Mail front page. It was literally like fucking heroes. It was one of the worst things I've seen in my life.
That is a word that is not going to survive this outbreak, is it? That it's going to be difficult to say that word heroes without it having some kind of negative connotation if this ever comes to an end if it comes to an end by the time it does. There's a word that has been hijacked and abused that we'll probably never be able to use again.
Is it good or is it bad that we are bringing over these workers to pick fruit? On that as well, with people saying how good it is, because you've got a lot of people that say Daily Mail and everything else saying, "Oh, this is fantastic, wonderful Romanians." At what point are we going to realise that our xenophobia and our want for borderline slave labour doesn't compute with each other?
We're never going to realise that, because I've wondered that myself. You know, watching this whole thing unfold, and still people aren't getting certain things, and you sort of wonder to yourself, what will it take? And the answer is nothing, because they're never going to get it. It's like we would literally, as a nation, rather die. Literally, what's happening there, we'd rather die. And I say that from a privileged position. If I'm not, I'm not an NHS worker. I've got the luxury of kicking back and for a spell and commenting on this. But it does feel a lot like we are not ever going to learn anything. That this is that this, I bet you life that even as this is happening, there are people sort of still kicking off about immigration and why they're coming in and what have you, and you want to say to them, look, these people coming in, we're pretty much offering them up as a sacrifice to the virus, to the great virus god. Please take these 150 people who are going to do all the work we're too afraid to do because we're too afraid to get the virus, so that we can have our out of season fruit salad in Waitrose or whatever. Nobody's ever going to make that deductive leap at all. I mean, we still. I mean, nobody's vilified Mike Ashley, so how are they ever going to grasp the dynamics of actual slavery? I don't know.
I've had a quick look, and I may be wrong about it being on the front page, but I did see something about Romanian and heroes in the Daily Mail. It just wasn't the front page. But we've got Priti Patel coming out and saying, here's the immigration laws, everyone has to pass this, and this is happening at the end of the year, this is what's being done. And then at the same time, we're going seasonal, because seasonal workers was always going to be part of the allowed people in, because it's a 70 points you have to get. You have to be able to speak English. You have to be offered a job, and there's another one I can't fucking remember now. I don't know, be white or something. That's giving you your 50. But then we allow seasonal workers in. What we're doing here is we are saying, right, this is the value of you as a human being based solely on what we want. We may as well be going, listen, you're not allowed in this country unless you can run 100 meters in under 10 seconds, because we don't have anyone who can do that at the moment. or if you're particularly good at javelin, we need someone who can do the javelin. Rowing, we've got fine. If you're coming over on a boat, we've got very fine rowers you're not allowed in. But if you're able to do 400 meters at a decent time, then we'll consider it. It is literally there. Just we're only there going, we're not looking at anyone as human beings. We're looking at what they can do for us, which seems like a very weird way of seeing it. Was we're putting value on life, but not even in a nice way. Yeah, no,
it's weird. It's grotesque. It'd be almost, I don't want to say better, but it would be slightly further on the moral scale if we just said, right, nobody's coming in. Whereas to actually, as you say, actually just sort of say, what can you do for us? What skills you got? And as you say, we're literally going to base our perception on what you can do. And it's I mean, it's a comparison that has been made many times before, but the only other group of people who come to the country in a completely helpless state are children. And if you're going to apply it to immigrants, you've got to apply it to kids as well, because otherwise all your arguments about other countries full up will hold no water, because, we're still letting babies in. So maybe we should have a little test. If we're going to do this, have a little test for kids at the age of 7. What can you do? How good are you at coding? How good are you at your STEM subjects? What's that? Liberal arts, humanities? I'm sorry, you'll have to leave and put them on a boat.
The problem with that, where we'll create even more inequality, because you'll either have the really rich kids who are going to be absolutely fine, or you'll have the very poor kids who are able to sew at this point, and so the middle classes will be fucked, because they won't have anything. Like, you can make shoes, you can stay. You can afford shoes, you can stay. You've got a saving for shoes, you're fucked.
Well, for a lot of kids find themselves in the same position as the whole of comedy at the minute, that we are sort of going, how many podcasts have you made? Do you create original content? Then you're allowed to stay. Maybe that's how we'll sort of be. Because, I mean, we're in a situation now where we've had kids winning Britain's Got Talent doing stand-up. So maybe it's not, I'm saying all this, maybe it's not a million miles away from the truth. And, it is weird how I'm trying to, obviously we're in a position of trying to think of silly things to say about the news, and the news always overtakes anything we're going to say. I was trying to write a bit about people falling in love with objects during lockdown because they're starved of any other sort of focus for affection. And that's actually apparently now happened. So it's like, right, life has trumped me. So, I fully expect, we're in a weird period of history. I can't remember now. I just remember hearing it on the news quiz because I'm proper middle class, and just thinking, I was literally in the middle of like, oh right, okay, it's been done. Can't do this. It's like The Simpsons has done everything. Now real life has done everything. It's, I mean, we're in a weird situation where anything I say as a joke will probably be taken up as policy, particularly by Priti Patel in about a week's time.
She came out a couple of days ago and she said, it was, I am sorry if you feel let down. And the audacity to fucking go along and go, oi, listen, if you feel that way, then I do apologise. Like, they're dying, you dickhead.
I know. It's very much the Virgin Media apology, isn't it? And I'm sorry if that's libelous, but I'm not sorry. I make no apologies for their crappy...
Virgin Media go blow it out their hole, mate.
They can go suck one, as far as I'm concerned. But that is very much how they phrase it. We're sorry if you feel our service. Not I feel your service has been poor, and it's not a question of I'm sorry if you feel let down. We have been let down. That's not. Yeah. It'd be better if you just didn't apologise. That is such a calculated insult when people do that. Sorry, it's getting very personal now, isn't it?
Yeah, but actual human beings, not politicians, actual human beings, if they apologise like that, they'll be held up for it. If you cheated on someone, saying, listen, I'm sorry if you feel that me sticking my dick in someone was cheating. If you felt that way, then I can only apologise. If you felt that way. This is very much your fault. That's what that apology says. Yeah,
that's exactly what it says, yeah.
If you feel this is your fault. It's the same as a fucking like a right-wing comedian apology. I'm sorry
if you feel offended. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that.
The problem is that people are allowed to be offended, and people are allowed to fucking feel like Priti Patel and the government have fucked us over because they fucked us over. You've got Matt Hancock coming along, and the new thing that they're saying for the NHS is, hey, why don't you can you reuse or just not use any PPE at all? Yeah. And this is from the fucking government that just a couple of months ago was saying within the week we will have enough PPE for everyone. Then, well, where the fuck's this? And then we've got journalists. Go on.
I was going to say he had the gall to sort of say, didn't he say something like, "Oh, it's actually quite it's quite an undertaking to get the PPE to everybody," and you sort of think, well, Amazon and Deliveroo seem to manage it. Why are we less equipped now than the Royal Mail for getting stuff to people? That this is
the fucking Royal Mail. Why don't we just deliver them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we can set up. Why doesn't the government just set up a fucking Amazon account and just say, right, everyone, get yourself Prime. You have to pay for Prime because we're not going to pay the Prime for you, of course. And then here's all of the PPE. You buy it from us, from our fucking everyone next day.
Yeah, or just fucking hell, just hire a load of cabs. They got no problem about hiring cabs in the past, haven't they? Just get a load of. There must be loads of Uber drivers and cabbies. We sat around with nothing to do. I mean, I'm saying all this. I'm starting to sound like one of those. Well, it was really simple. Why can't they just do this? I'm sure there are logistical problems, but I can't believe an actual government can't organise some of this.
I believe this government can't.
No, I mean, they couldn't organise by the look of things. I would entertain conspiracy theories if I didn't feel it was a comfort blanket. But this government couldn't organise a piss up in a piss up as it was happening, and people were shouting, "This is a piss up! Look at us! We're all getting pissed up." That is the level of. Oh, anyway.
Because it's like healthcare workers have been advised to reuse gowns or wear different kit, such as plastic aprons with coveralls, if stocks in England run low. It's ridiculous. They're going, well, listen, are you a bit kinky? Do you have anything leather? Anything leather at all?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can you come in with that on, and we'll just wipe you down?
Yeah, that would be amazing though. If he's lying there waiting for some treatment, and then somebody comes in a gimp mask. Oh, the doctor is in. You're like, oh, am I going to get treated or fondled? What's the deal here? So that'd be amazing though if that became like the standard thing, was we had to turn to sort of fetish. Can you remember the hoo-ha that about the army not having equipment? Do you remember that? Because we started to refer to them as frontline workers, which is a very dangerous way to sort of refer to them. They used to, that we didn't previously refer to them quite so much as frontline workers. But now, you imagine if we sent people into a war with like, oh, could you reuse your bullets? Could you dig them out the corpse? Could you repurpose all the sort of crappy gas masks that didn't work and all of this? And here we are effectively sending people into war against an enemy that nobody apparently can defeat, and we're not even giving them any sort of protection.
It comes from, because that was when Gordon Brown was PM.
Yeah.
He absolutely hung him out to dry. So you send people out and they don't have fucking enough equipment. And this is my problem when we keep on going on and talking about key workers, our doctors, our nurses, and everything as heroes, and they shouldn't be called heroes. They should be told. There should be key workers who are doing their jobs. The reason that they're heroes is because they're doing it without the fucking equipment. Like, Batman would be more of a hero if he never had his fucking utility belt, because he was going in there fucking just butt naked, hitting people with his dick. That's heroic.
That's The Dark Knight Rises. Doesn't sound quite like such a good title now, does it? That's especially if he did the whole Christian Bale and Batman before doing it as well. Would he still have a mask on, or would that be too much? Because then people just go, "I'm Batman," and go, "No, you're Bruce Wayne, mate."
He would, but like the PPE that we have here, it's pointless that it doesn't cover the mouth or the nose.
Just as a tangent, that does remind me, and this is going back some years now, big hoo-ha about, I think DC Comics, who own the rights to Batman, launching a range of comic superheroes tailored specifically at the cultures in the Middle East, who, and sort of having heroes who were not Judeo-Christian, typical WASP sort of descent. One of the complaints from hardcore beta male, gaming nerd comic books fans was, how could they possibly support a culture that has face veils? It's like, fucking hell, mate. Just take a good look at any superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Batman, Green Arrow, Robin, anyone who wears a mask I really like, as long as it's not for religious reasons.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, but yeah, no, it is, that would actually be a great superhero film. If like Tony Stark, all the other characters suddenly had to, mind you, that's kind of been done as well, hasn't it? Christ, anything I suggest, it's already been done. We're at the end of days, mate.
Where we have an internal review investigation into the failings of how the government have dealt with coronavirus. And do you think this is going to be as pointless as every other fucking internal review there's ever been by the government, in where we're going to find nothing? It's going to take years to do. Everyone's going to be gone by the time, and we're just going to fucking move on.
Are you telling me the bloody Sunday inquiry didn't serve any useful purpose? Why, Ashley, I'll not hear the like. I think you hit the nail on the head with the words internal. That's the difficulty, isn't it? Anytime you hear that, it's like, well, no, it's internal. They're just going to exonerate each other. Who is the? I mean, I'm not a religious person, but if I was, I would now be sort of throwing my hands up to God and going, well, now's your moment, God. We clearly can't trust human beings to police themselves. It's time for you to come down here and sort it out. And who are we going to?
Many.
Yeah. Who is going to sort? Who can we turn to really? There's a lot of stuff in the news about will AI solve the problem of coronavirus. I think AI should be. Well, we've got no choice now but to let Skynet carry out sort of any internal investigation because humans have had their chance.
They're nowhere. AI, we can't hand ourselves over to AI because I mean, sure, they'll show more personality. I'm not doubting that than our current crop. Maybe more empathy.
Yeah.
Even if it's just going, listen, you're dying because we have to do the curve. You know, go, oh, at least it's explaining it.
Mm.
I mean, at the moment, we've got a selection of some of the most incompetent human beings that have ever been. I'll go further than not just human beings, mammals.
Mm. Yeah.
The most
Yeah. I'd agree
incompetent
with that.
mammal. I
Yeah.
I I remember watching Lion King, and one of the things I thought was, let's be honest, their society isn't actually run that well.
No. No. I
It's
mean,
not.
it's. I've not particularly seen, but they're just the title alone, Lion King. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's always a worry.
Yeah.
Nothing for the unemployed wildebeests, if there are
No.
wildebeests, which is probably why the wildebeests rioted and killed the king.
Yeah.
It's all now making sense. That was that was an attempt at a coup. It was
To
quite
restore
subtle.
democracy. Yeah. Yeah.
It was quite a subtle.
Yeah, the sequel. Everything they're working on the sequel is called The Lion President, subtitled "Truth and Reconciliation Committee weeds out who was responsible." Come on, Disney, mind you,
Talking
Disney.
about useless fucking pricks. Trump, he's been having a fucking breakdown for the past week or so, hasn't he?
I kind of stopped paying attention because I feel like, oh, this is kind of I've got enough to worry about. This is kind of America's problem now. Sorry, Americans whom I know, who I'm sure are avid followers of my every utterance on social media, but it does feel a lot like, well, you know what? It's kind of it reminds me of that J.G. Ballard quote. Yes, I told you it's proper middle class. J.G. Ballard. I was going to say J.G. Ballard, the writer, but I can't think of another famous J.G. Ballard. Or even another unknown J.G. Ballard. I'll get to the point. He said, quote to the effect of, you can always tell when an individual goes mad, but when a society goes mad, how are you supposed to know? And it's a shame he didn't live to see this, because he could point to the American and just go, well, that's how we know.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. This is an entire nation now having just a breakdown.
There are two main things that are currently happening in America that have give you warrant to be worried. Number one, him stopping giving money to WHO.
Yeah. Yeah.
For, of course, lies. It is just absolute lies. He said, oh, they haven't helped. They've pushed the Chinese agenda. They go, oh, no. The World Health Organization has done nothing but say, stay inside. This is a pandemic. Since the fucking start. And just going, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. We should probably do this. They haven't been perfect, but no one is. That's humanity. And the other thing is today, Trump has come out and has backed the anti-lockdown protesters in America, who there was some in Michigan, and they were armed, of course, which is one of the major fucking problems with the US as it is. You've got the fucking militia of idiots. You shouldn't give people with such low IQs weapons, but that's an argument for another point. They want to be allowed to go out to work, but they're not allowed, and they're saying they say things like, "I would rather live dangerously free than live safe as a slave." And they're going, well, that isn't your options. You're being told to stay home for the good of everyone else. This isn't the government telling you can't go out because of martial law or something like this. This is if you go out, you are risking the lives of other people. You should yourself want to stay in to protect everyone else, the more vulnerable of society. If you're unwilling to do that and the government has to stop you from going out, that's your fundamental issue for being such a horrible piece of shit.
Yes, and it also, even from a self-interest point of view, excludes the possibility, like, even if you don't care about other people, you yourself could get it from another person. It's kind of how diseases work. So maybe staying away from other people and not going to work is in your best interest as well. But I'm one sort of weary headline away from just saying, do you know what? Anyone who wants to, do it. You can infect each other, wipe each other out, and the rest of us will just stay at home, and then we'll go and do with it. We're doing fine without you. So,
but then the problem comes is that you'd have to say you're not allowed to use, like if it was in the UK, you wouldn't be allowed to use the NHS because you can't. If you're going to be that ignorant, you're going to be that selfish, then you shouldn't be allowed to use the NHS. But at that point, what you're doing there is you're taking away freedoms, and the problem is you cannot. You cannot want to be on the right side whilst also saying let's take away everyone's fucking freedoms.
No, true enough.
Unfortunately,
it is, yeah, and that is the basic tenet of the NHS is they treat everybody without judgment, which is a system from which I've benefited. I've got underlying health conditions that are my fault, but then again, I have had a lifetime of the kind of people who are saying, "Oh, well, why shouldn't I be allowed to go out?" Also telling me I'm a burden on the NHS, and it's like, well, okay, you want to go down that route, then on the arse hard. So, and possibly we're living through that period. I don't know, but there we are. But yeah, no, it's
any
it's
news
kind
stories?
Yes, I mean, I've had to look outwards to space just to find anything that's happening there. The first crewed NASA, that's crewed, by the way, in the sense of having a crew, not crewed, CRUED. It's not a NASA mission to fly up and just go. Although we are doing a very good job of doing that to the universe anyway. But apparently, the first NASA mission with a crew in near a decade is apparently due to launch from the US on US territory, using a spaceship made by SpaceX, which of course is Elon Musk's company. So that's, there's something in me that is still quite fascinated and boyish and kind of like a sense of wonder about space travel whenever it happens at all, which isn't very often these days. But obviously, I think, does it have to be, does Elon Musk have to go down in history as the man who took us into space? Because this is happening, and his track record on business and industrial relations ain't great. You can sort of hear Mike Ashley rubbing his hands, going, "Oh, let's have Sports Direct on the moon. That can't be the reason we go into space, just to exploit it." But
I mean, it is the only reason that we are going into space. The US recently said that. The US think that they own the moon. They recently brought in a law the other week with regards to allowing companies to mine moons and asteroids, and they brought something in 2015 that said similar. And with regards to space travel, I feel that we're too much of a cancer to be allowed to travel around space.
Sort of, I know what you mean. It is like, are we sending the worst of ourselves into space? But I mean, the number of people who've been into space, it doesn't even get into triple figures. But of the people who've been up, all of them have said the same thing, that it is impossible. It is impossible to entertain any of the prejudices or conceptions you had about the world when you've seen it from orbit. Which is sort of, because I used to think space travel, I love it, but what a waste of money. But if we can reach a stage where people are going into space and they finally realise, how fragile everything is, it might be the only thing that would shock human beings into just being nice and not. I mean,
it's a lovely idea. It is a lovely idea. I just don't have faith in humanity.
No, I mean, I've said all that. We're living through arguably what should be a shock to the system, and I don't think it's going to change people at all. So when you look at all the things we have lived through in history and you think, we're not going to learn anything, are we? But yeah, also it's space. just as an environment to be in, offers all these different ways of carrying out scientific investigations that we can't do on Earth. This may seem, and this is something that gets said a lot, and it seems really trivial, but we wouldn't have non-stick frying pans had they not had to build heat shielding. And I'm sure there's many other things that are far more important that I don't know anything about that have come out of just the research that goes into space travel. So for that reason alone, it's like, oh, please, can we have someone other than Elon Musk doing it? Because I wonder how long it is before it just starts calling Jupiter a pedo and trying to sue the rings of Saturn or something stupid, or just anyway, yeah, it's taking all the romance out of space travel and the hope. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we're better off just staying on the planet.
You mentioned a lack of hope. I'm always one to continue to push that with other news stories. The other day, on one of the bridges, I think it was Westminster Bridge, we saw a bunch of idiots clapping.
Would this be the clap for NHS workers? Yeah, I wasn't clear on the context of that footage, because it's like there's a lot of police cars and a lot of people stood around clapping. And I thought, were they doing the clap as they were being arrested? Because it kind of, I don't know what they. I think
they're all in there together. Because if the police went, right, okay, you're too close to each other, we're going to arrest you, that's a bit worrying anyway. But that's the police going a bit fucking too far and beyond. But if they went, hang on, what time is it? 8 o'clock. I'll arrest you in a minute. That's even fucking worse.
Yeah.
It's how we're treating our NHS staff and like social care. Matt Hancock, here, have a fucking badge. Are you high? Matt Hancock coming out and saying, right, social care workers, what can we do for them? What can we do for them? Right, I'm going to give you a badge so you get the same discounts as NHS staff. A fucking badge. I said it on fucking Twitter, like, why not go the whole hog and just give them a key ring and a mouse mat as well?
Yeah. Yeah, or some commemorative stamp covers, possibly. And it's beggars belief. I think I'm in two minds, because I think the clap, there is something heartwarming about the fact that so many people, particularly in the part of London I live in, are actually prepared to clap for the NHS. But as has been pointed out many times over, it's not nearly as good as an actual living wage and PPE, is it? So I think it's a symptom of how impotent we are as a people. It's like, well, we literally have no power apart from charitable donation to sort of influence. All we can do is applaud people. I had that same thought when, we got all these announcements about Lady Gaga's putting on a concert, and I don't know, Emma Thompson is writing a love letter to the NHS. You think, oh, you roll your eyes, but you think, what else? I mean, there's not a lot else we can do. We're not in a position really where any kind of pressure works, and we're not in a position where we can have a protest march or anything like that. So I just think it's happening because nobody knows what else to do, I think, and that's the. It is simultaneously.
You've got a 99-year-old man, an actual war hero, I understand, who raised now 20 million for walking around his garden. And everyone's going, oh, this is amazing, this is fantastic, this is the thing. And you go, yeah, it is. Why the fuck does he have to do it? And then you realise that the government have pissed away 20 million buying tests that don't work. They go, oh, so he's covered that. He's covered your fuck up then. Because that's all he's done. And it's a problem with charity. I've said it time and time and time again. The moment there is charity, it shows that society has failed the most vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely true. And the worrying thing people pointed out is that this gets normalised of like, oh, well, clearly that's how we fund the NHS going forward. More than that, it's like you can see you can almost see people in the government going, oh, this is a good use of pensioners. I wonder if we can get them to do all of the, instead of just putting them in do it all to work on a Sunday because no one else knows what to do with them. Maybe when they get to pensionable age, we just make them, do 99 laps of their own garden to get to raise money for their own pension or something like that. And I wonder as well. I mean, this is to preface this saying all due credit to Captain Tom Moore for doing it. What an amazing thing!
No, it's fantastic what he's done. I'm not taking away from what he's done.
Absolutely, you wonder if he'd have got the same press coverage if he hadn't been an ex-military person, because I always feel like the press and culturally England has a massive hard-on for anyone in the military. And again, that's not to take away from anything that he's done. If he was just a pensioner doing it, because you sort of see that and you think, yeah, he served in World War II and he's undoubtedly, as you say, carried out something heroic. But there are people, you talk about them equal, there are people going to work at the minute who are arguably doing stuff as heroic, and it always feels like, oh, there's a secret sort of thing of like, yeah, but soldiers are more important, and that is an aspect of it. And a facet of the press which I find really troubling. But it's like,
we love to paint war as something borderline romantic.
Yeah, a noble.
I don't think that there's a winner in a war.
No, it just comes to an end. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you can only win by the killing of hundreds of thousands of people, I think that there's something to be said to not call that a win.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. And
yeah, come on.
I was going to say this. Let's just people forget the Second World War ends with the only actual use on a civilian population of nuclear weapons. And
yes.
At the time, we tend to lose touch with the reaction at the time. I mean, people were overjoyed the war was over, but equally, there was a lot of like, well, this is horrific. This, and particularly in the years after that, particularly the people who made it possible. You look at the track record of Robert Oppenheimer, who then had to contend with McCarthy not too long afterwards. It's kind of like, well, people weren't clicking their heels for joy and declaring it a great victory. It's, it was just, like you said, it's just the end of the war. It's like, well, we're all relieved it's finished, but now we have to rebuild everything. And no romance there, I don't think.
We have to question our own, what we're willing to do as well at that point. Because someone was willing to kill a bomb onto people.
Mm-hmm.
And the number of innocent lives that would have been lost there.
Mm-hmm.
And this, and it's the same. It's a valid point you make with how we look at people in the army. They're heroes. It changed a bit. I feel like during the middle of the Iraq War, the second one, where it wasn't so much these people are heroes as these people are awful. And they're going, well, now it's changing because your view on this particular war is different. But then a terror attack happens. They go, oh no, they're heroes again.
Yeah. And I say this, I feel pretty ambivalent because I don't want to be shitting on a lot of, brave people who are doing something.
An individual soldier is, I've got a lot of respect, admiration for. Armed forces as a collective, I don't necessarily trust.
Yeah, and it's also, and I try not to be too I try and strike a balance. It's like, obviously, in the end, you have to take each person on their own merit, but it is that thing of, quite a lot of people join the army just because they have no choice. That's the first thing. It's like there's no jobs. So, but also you do meet, if you have to perform to any squaddies, you do meet them and you think, oh God, if not for the army, you would be a murderer. You would actually just be, if you didn't have this, you'd be going around just killing people anyway. And that's, and then people, just to preempt any possible response of, oh, you hate the working class. Yeah, being working class doesn't exclude you from being a shit, and there's plenty of middle class people in the army, and there's still an officer class, and there's plenty of people who went to Sandhurst. So we're talking about a broad spectrum of people here.
Yeah.
And I'm not making any judgment on any particular class. I'm just sort of, as with the police, you do have to wonder sometimes, setting aside any of the economic factors, who would want to be a policeman, who would want to be a soldier, and there has to be, in some instances, that element. Anyway, I feel like I'm just talking myself into a hole here. And
I mean, you're doing a fantastic job of it, though.
That's the best review I've had for quite some time. Talks himself into a hole, but does a fantastic job. That's the best. Can I put that on my Edinburgh flyers?
Oh, maybe. Of course you can. Of course you can. Right. Let's go on to another piece of news. Do supermarket workers? This is an idea that's been sprung up by Dame Vera Bard, who has suggested.
Who better than a dame to comment on anything?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what she said, so I should
supermarket workers should be trained to recognise domestic abuse codes.
I mean, I can see the logic, but do we not have a police force for this? I can't.
There's been after the first week of lockdown, domestic abuse charity Refuge said there had been a 25% increase in calls for the National Abuse Helpline and online requests. Now, there's part of me that I like the idea of thinking of new ways of protecting these people. I do not think that training supermarket workers, who especially at the moment have quite enough to fucking deal in, putting their lives on the line for assholes who are unwilling to fucking stay 6 meters away from each other, or 6 foot, wherever the fuck it is, 2 meters. That's it, 6 meters, Christ.
6 meters sounds pretty good to me. We should all adopt that.
But also going, listen, I know you're on fuck all money, but can you also, while you're putting your life on the line with no PPE or anything else, can you also just protect everyone else?
There is that, and again, it's like you have to acknowledge, oh, well, fair enough, I don't want to feel like I'm shitting on domestic violence victims, but there is this thing of well, why, is there any rationale given to why supermarket workers particularly? Is it just because supermarkets are the only place we're allowed to visit?
Yeah. Now, I mean, with there are certain things that should be in place during this lockdown for victims of domestic abuse. First one is, if we find out about it, it should be the abuser that gets taken out of the house. Never.
That sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Never.
It should be. That sounds like a sound strategy. Yeah. I can't disagree with you there.
Yeah, but then you've got things like I kind of understand it, because in pubs there's you can go up to the bar staff and say it's I think it's Karen or Sally or something, and you say that to them, and it's the realization that you're not feeling safe. Yeah, especially for women to date with a dodgy cunt, and they may not feel safe about getting home or anything, so they can just go to the bar, get drinks, saying, "Oh, it's fucking Sally arrived" or something like this. They know that there's something wrong. That is good. I like it.
You need a similar sense of strategy in supermarkets. Like, somebody would have to come up to you and go, "Could you tell me where the icing sugar is," or something like that, and that would be the way of, or not even that. I can't remember if it was in America or there's a pilot scheme where it wasn't even that, it wasn't even anything verbal. It would just be, if anyone came up to you and did this with their hand as a little black dot, what it meant was, I'm a DV victim, I'm a victim of domestic violence, and my abuser is nearby, and I need to alert somebody. And that would be the cue then to do something, provide some sort of distraction or just intervene somehow. So there are ways and means of doing it, you're right, but it just doesn't seem like this is a particularly helpful way of just sort of saying to people, right, your problem now. Yeah.
Beef bourguignon, something like that. Well,
yeah.
You got any beef bourguignon? You're in trouble.
Yeah, that would be the. You could probably tailor it according to which kind of supermarket you're in, I guess. But obviously, Waitrose.
You have to ask. Do you have any squeezy cheese?
Something that you're unlikely to have in whichever supermarket. I mean, it is. I'm making light here of something quite serious. It is. It is. It's an awful thing as well. That's something you just don't ever think about until now. It's just like, well, what if you are in you're having to get locked down with not even abusive, just someone you can't get along with, and the mental health toll of that, and oh God, none of it's good, is it? It's all...
No, domestic violence number. Let's while we're here, just in case anyone is watching,
yeah,
the requirement of it, and they should fucking always do their best to try to get out. The number is 080 0808. That's it. 0808 2000 247.
0808 2000
247. Yes.
Okay.
And of course, I mean, with all of it, that's for women and children of domestic violence. If there, I mean, no one watches this, and so yeah, I do hate to think that the only reason that anyone would be watching this is some form of emotional violence, someone's forcing on someone else.
That would be,
if there is, then call that number and say they're forcing me to watch Ashley Haden.
And just to add insult to injury, Declan Kennedy's on it, and they'll go, we're 100% sending someone out straight away. Yeah. And that'll be the way they do that. But
right, we're coming to the end of this.
Yeah, I was going to say that there was one story, because I've been desperate for anything that isn't coronavirus related. Very quickly, one story about, and this is going to get lost in anything positive now is going to get lost. And I'm not normally given to championing the positive, but I feel like this warrants a mention. Apparently, there's a new substance now, enigmatically described as a metal organic framework, porous new material that can hold vast quantities of hydrogen, which may enable in the future hydrogen-powered cars to become a sort of economic viable thing. Nice. And I think that's a leap forward. The weird thing is, this is a result of American Ministry of Defense technology about nerve gas attacks. So as with anything positive, as we've established, any push scientifically in one direction has these weird fringe benefits. So that's quite a sinister way to arrive at a sort of environmentally friendly method of car propulsion.
Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, you tried your best for the good news.
But it fell at the last hurdle, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
It did.
Right. Well, thank you very much for joining me today.
My pleasure, actually. Speak to you.
We will do this again soon. And goodbye to anyone who's watching this, and stay safe.
Indeed.